Filing your taxes as a DoorDash driver can be a little bit confusing, but in this video, I'm going to show you the simplest and fastest way to get it done, get it out of the way. And so if you find this helpful, make sure you subscribe. I've noticed that about 85% of my viewers are not subscribed. So if you could subscribe, that would greatly help me out. That allows me to do bigger challenges and make better videos on this channel for you guys so that hopefully I can provide you even more value. So if you wouldn't mind doing that real quick, I would greatly appreciate it. And also one more thing, if you already watched my how to file Uber taxes video, then I would highly suggest to not watch this video because it's going to be the exact same for the most part. So no need to waste your time on watching the whole video of this. But if you haven't watched that, then yes, definitely stay tuned. So the first thing I need to go over is the vocabulary and the things you need to figure out first before you get into the equation on how to figure everything out. So the first thing you need to know is the miles you drove, and that is for the entire year of 2023. The next thing you're going to need to figure out is your deduction rate, which for the purposes of this video, we're using the standard mileage deduction rate for the year 2023, which was 65.5 cents per mile. In the year 2024, this year, it's actually gone up to 67 cents per mile. So we're going to get an even bigger tax write-off next year, which will be really nice. But like I said, for last year, you're going to be using 0.655 or 65.5%. The next thing you need to figure out is the total you made in 2023. And then using those numbers, you can figure everything else out. The formula is miles driven multiplied by the deduction rate of 0.655, and that will equal your write-off total. After that, you take the total amount of money you made, you minus your write-off total, and that will give you your taxable income. Then you take your taxable income, you multiply it by your tax rate, which is your federal income tax rate, your state income tax rate, and the self-employed tax rate all combined. And then that will give you your taxes owed for the year. So for the purposes of this video, we are going to say that in 2023, we made $40,000 from DoorDash and we drove 45,000 miles. So what I would do if those were my numbers is I would take 45,000, multiply it by 0.655. That would give me $29,475. Then I would take $40,000, the total amount I made, and then I would subtract that $29,475, and that would give me my taxable income, which is $10,525. Then I would take that number, $10,525, multiply it by my federal, state, and self-employed tax, which would be 0.2995 or 29.95%. And that would give me the taxes owed, which for this instance is $3,152.24. Now, the way you figure out your tax rate is you can just look these numbers up. You just look up federal income tax rate for 2023 on Google, and it'll give you the different tax brackets, and you just figure out which one you fall into. So in this case, because I'm married filing jointly, then I would only have to pay 10% because the tax bracket that you fall into is dependent upon your taxable income, not the total amount you made for the year. So you wouldn't be taking that 40,000 and figuring out what tax bracket you fall into. You take your taxable income, which for this case was $10,525, and figure out what tax bracket you fall into. So it would be the lowest, which is 10% for married filing jointly, and that's how I get my federal income tax of 10%. Then you just look up your state income tax. I believe there's no brackets. It's just a standard rate. For Utah, it's 0.465. And then also you have to pay the self-employed tax, which is 15.3%. So you add up all of those. That's how you get your tax rate. You do your taxable income multiplied by that tax rate, and that is how you get that final number. And for us, it was $3,152.24. So that may have sounded really confusing, but maybe just go back, rewatch it, take a screenshot of the formula, and that'll make it a lot easier for you. But if you don't want to do all that math yourself, there are some much simpler ways to go about this. The first being, you can just download the Solo app and pay $15 or $20 a month, and they have a very simple way to file your taxes. You can just file it through them, and they do all of this for you. You don't even have to know anything. You just have to submit your forms to them. So I believe DoorDash sends you a 1099. I'm pretty sure that's what it is, 1099 NEC, if I remember correctly. But you would just submit that to them, submit your driving report, and if you're already tracking your miles through Solo, then they will already have that, or you can just submit it if you've been using a different app. But they make it super easy. So if you would like to file with them, then you can use the link I have for you down below in the description to sign up, and then just pay for one of those $15 or $20 a month plans, and you get that service for free. And that's actually a way better deal than the next way I'm going to tell you about. and this is actually what I've done every year in the past, and that would be TurboTax. That's what I've used every year prior to this because this is the first year Solo is offering a tax filing service. So yeah, in years past, I used TurboTax. I believe it's like $100 to file with them for the self-employed service. Yeah, I think it's like $100 or something like that. So Solo is way cheaper, but you can use TurboTax. They make it super easy as well, and that way you don't have to know any of this math. So you just make a TurboTax account, you submit your forms, just like I said, your 1099 NEC, and then also if you want to use the standard mileage deduction, you submit how many miles you drove for the year, or if you don't want to use the standard mileage deduction, you can use the itemized tax deduction, which means you'd be able to write off everything you ever spent in regards to working for DoorDash. So that's your phone bill, that's any gas you spent, that's anytime you got new tires, anytime you had to get an oil change, anything really that has to do with you driving your car, fixing your car, using your phone, anything like that you could write off. But in my 5 years of filing DoorDash taxes, I've come to find out that the standard mileage deduction covers way more tax write-offs than if I were to itemize it. So that's why I just suggest use the standard mileage deduction. But yeah, you have Solo, you have TurboTax, or you can go to someone like H&R Block and get an accountant, or really any other financial service place like that. You can just go and get a CPA and they will do your taxes for you. But once again, you do have to submit those forms and they make it super easy. But like I said, if you use Solo, then it's the cheapest way for you. So anyways, there you guys have it. That is how you can file your taxes as a DoorDash driver for last year, the year 2023. Hopefully this was comprehensible. I know it's pretty confusing. And if this is your first time filing taxes, then it can really be confusing. You might not know what to do or where to go. So hopefully this video gave you some value. And if you have any other questions, just leave them down in the comments. I'll try and answer them as best as I can. But just a disclaimer, I am not a tax professional. I'm not an accountant. So I'm not authorized to give financial advice or tax advice. So this is just from my experience, my 5 years of being a DoorDash driver, filing taxes. But yeah, if you have any questions, I can try and answer them as best as I can. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one.